Hi everybody, it's been a while since I've done one of these blogs, but I think with everything going on politically at the moment in the wake of the EU referendum, I really just wanted to come on here and say a couple of words about how I'm feeling about it and just maybe to give you something to think about as well. I'm not going to talk about all aspects of the referendum because I want to try and keep this as short as I can. So I'm not going to talk about, for example, David Cameron's resignation. I'm not going to talk about the orchestrated attack on the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. I'm only going to say one thing about all of that, that one of the things about this referendum is that it's been painted in some quarters as being some kind of working class revolution. I think the only thing I would say about that is that replacing David Cameron with either Theresa May or with Michael Gove or with any other of the Conservative candidates, that really isn't what we were talking about when we said there needs to be a working class revolution. I think the wires have got crossed a little bit on that one, and maybe that's something we need to think about again. What I do want to talk about is specifically two aspects of the EU referendum. I'm going to try and focus on those really, really concisely. The first thing I want to talk about is that I've read an awful lot recently from the Leave campaigners saying that with the votes having been cast and the votes having been counted, one of the things that we all need to do now is essentially shut up. We need to get on with it. Democracy has spoken, and those people like me who were really eager to remain as part of the EU, for all of its faults and for all of its shortcomings, I genuinely believe that we were better staying part of it. But I'm being told that because the vote has turned out the way it has done, that now I just need to keep my mouth shut and essentially carry on, keep calm, and keep my head down and get on with the outcome of the vote. I just really want to point out that, in my opinion, democracy doesn't work like that, and I'll explain to you why I feel like that. If that was the way that democracy worked, then British political history would have looked something like this. We would have had a general election, the first general election of the modern era, back in 1802. And that general election was won by the Tory party, and they had a democratic mandate from the population that at the time in 1802 was allowed to vote. Now, to follow the argument that we should just keep calm and carry on, that should have been the only general election that ever happened in this country. Because, rightly or wrongly, the people had spoken, they had elected a government. So, using the argument that we don't argue with the outcome of the ballot box, why bother then having another general election? But the reality is, democracy doesn't work like that. Democracy is an evolving and a progressive concept. It's something that's very fluid. It's something that changes day by day, week by week, month by month. The world changes, circumstances change. And a crucial element of democracy is that if we see our elected representatives doing something that we don't agree with, something that we don't support, we as the electorate, we have not only a right to speak our opinions about that, but to my mind, we actually have a duty to speak up against that. We are the people of the country, and you can say as much as you like that the 48% that voted to remain in the EU are a minority, and by the system we voted by, you're absolutely correct. There's no arguing with that. And I'm not actually one of those people that believes we should hold a second referendum, because I do believe we should respect the outcome of that ballot. However, that is very different to saying that I believe we should keep quiet about it. The way our political system works is that we have a political party at any given time which is in government, and we have opposition parties. The idea of having opposition parties is that we don't become a dictatorship. The opposition is there to hold the government of the day to account and also to campaign and actively engage people in a different idea, in something that they believe to be correct when they believe that the government is getting it incorrect, when the government is getting it wrong. Now, there's a significant proportion of people out there at the moment that feel the result of this referendum was wrong, and there are many, many reasons for that. And actually, as part of the democratic process, they have every right, every obligation, and every duty to stand up and say so. And I actually think it's a very positive thing for our country and for our culture that so many people are becoming engaged in that, that people are out on the streets um, campaigning for a different way of doing things and campaigning for what they believe makes Britain great. Because, and this brings me to my second point, because one of the things that doesn't make Britain great, one of the things that is actually quite shameful about the country we live in, is the apparent increase, the spike in racism that we have seen since the results of the referendum were known. Now, I don't think for a moment that everybody who voted to leave the EU is in any way, shape, or form a racist. However, we do have to confront the fact that every racist voted to leave. And what we've done with the vote that we have cast is that we have given a voice to these people. We've given their opinions validation. We've given traction to their opinions. We've seen by some sources, you can look it up online yourself, some police sources are reporting that in the immediate week after the referendum, there was a 57% increase in racially motivated hate crimes and religiously motivated hate crimes. That, I'm sure, is not what the majority of this country were voting for. And that's why I'm really pleased that people are out there, as I said earlier, they're on the streets, they're standing up for what they think makes Britain great. And to me, and to many other people, what makes Britain great is cultural diversity, is religious diversity. Those were the things that this country was built on. It only takes a very quick look through the history books to find the evidence to support that opinion. I actually like being part of a country and part of a city here in Norwich where I can go to Eastern European shops, where I can go to African restaurants. I like being part of a Europe where I can go to France or Germany or Italy or Spain and actually feel connected with people and feel part of something that is bigger than the inward-looking, jingoistic, xenophobic culture that we seem to be sleepwalking into at the moment. I would say to you, regardless of how you voted, that's done and dusted now, and as people keep telling me, we can't go back and undo it. But however you voted, I would urge you to stand up tall, to stand up strong, and to stand up united against the spikes in racism that we are seeing. We are all in this together. Actually, what we need to be doing as a nation is we need to be standing up and fighting not against each other, but against those very people that I talked about earlier, the Michael Goves, the Theresa Mays, the Boris Johnsons, the Nigel Farages, those people that whatever they might tell you, whatever their glossy promotional material might say, those people have one interest and one interest only. And that interest is actually keeping us, as the working people of this country, divided. They want us divided. They want us shouting and screaming and ranting at each other. I think we're a bit better than that. And I want you to stand with me, hand in hand, and we're going to stand up against those people. We're not going to fight each other. Bring it together, people. Let's do this.